Welcome to the Cognito Pod. Today, we're going to be diving deep into some seriously mind-bending concepts. AGI, ASI, and the singularity. Basically, we're talking about AI that doesn't just, play chess or write poems. It's AI that could potentially outsmart us humans in every way.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Imagine a world where AI is tackling climate change, curing diseases, and even designing better AI, all without our help. That's the potential upside. But of course, there are some pretty big what-ifs and potential downsides to unpack as well.
Right, because if AI gets that smart, who's really in control? That's where the idea of the singularity comes in, right?
Exactly. The singularity is this hypothetical point where AI becomes so intelligent that it can design even smarter AI. It's like a chain reaction of intelligence explosions, leading to changes we can barely even fathom.
Okay, so let's break this down a bit because I think people throw these terms around without really understanding what they mean. What's the distinction between AGI and ASI?
Think of AGI, artificial general intelligence, as AI that's on par with humans across the board. It can solve problems, learn, and adapt in any field, just like we can. Picture an AI scientist who can whip up a life-saving drug, then switch gears and discover a new planet, all before lunch. That's AGI.
And ASI is like AGI on steroids.
Exactly. Artificial superintelligence takes it a step further. ASI surpasses human intelligence in every way imaginable. We're talking about an AI that can solve the global energy crisis overnight, or unlock the secrets of consciousness in a flash.
Wow, okay, that's both incredibly exciting and more than a little terrifying. But honestly, why should the average person care about all this? This all sounds very sci-fi and theoretical.
It might seem that way, but the truth is, these advancements could completely reshape our lives, from our families and jobs to our societies and the entire global order.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this is relevant to everyday life. So what are some of the potential impacts we're looking at?
Let's start with families. Imagine a world where every family has an AI assistant that manages their schedule, educates their kids, and provides personalized healthcare advice. Sounds amazing,
Oh,
really.
you sign me up. But I'm guessing there's a catch.
There's always a catch. What if that same AI automates away your job? Or the jobs of millions of others? What happens to the family structure, the economy, the social fabric? When human labor becomes increasingly obsolete, that's just one example of the societal upheavals we could be facing.
Right, because it's not just about cool gadgets. It's about the potential for massive disruption to everything we know. So we've got families potentially turned upside down. What about society at large?
Well, AGI could exacerbate existing inequalities. Imagine a world where the wealthy have access to the best AI-powered healthcare and education, while the rest are left behind. That's a dystopian scenario we need to actively prevent.
And I'm guessing this could impact international relations as well. It's not hard to imagine an AI arms race developing, with countries vying for control of this powerful technology.
Absolutely. The nation that controls superintelligent AI could control the world. This raises huge questions about global governance, cooperation, and the potential for AI-driven conflict.
Okay, so we're talking about potential impacts on a global scale. But let's zoom back in and look at specific areas like work, education, and healthcare.
Yeah.
I think these are the areas where people will feel the effects of AGI most directly.
You're absolutely right. Starting with work, think about the potential for mass unemployment as AI systems take over tasks currently done by humans. We're not just talking about factory workers, we're talking about lawyers, doctors, writers, almost any job you can think of.
So what happens to those millions of people whose jobs are automated? Do we all just become artists and poets?
That's the million-dollar question. Some experts believe retraining programs and concepts like universal basic income might be solutions. But it's a massive challenge that we need to address now, not when it's too late.
Okay, that's work. What about education? I could see AI being a game changer in how we learn.
Imagine personalized AI tutors that adapt to each student's learning style, identify their strengths and weaknesses, and provide tailored instruction. Education could become incredibly effective and accessible, even for students who struggle in traditional settings.
It sounds like every student gets a customized education. But I guess that raises questions about the role of teachers in this future.
Exactly. Will human teachers become obsolete? Or will they evolve to become mentors and facilitators, guiding students through a more personalized learning journey? These are the kinds of questions we need to be asking.
And what about healthcare? It seems like AI is already making some inroads there, but AGI could take things to a whole new level.
Imagine a world where AI can analyze your medical history, genetics, and lifestyle to predict your risk of developing certain diseases years in advance. Or picture AI-powered systems that can diagnose diseases with incredible accuracy, personalized treatments, and even develop new cures for currently incurable diseases.
That all sounds incredible. But I'm also wondering about the potential downsides. What about the risk of bias in these AI systems, especially when it comes to healthcare decisions? And what about data privacy?
You're hitting on some crucial points. As AI becomes more integrated into our lives, we need to ensure that these systems are fair, transparent, and accountable. We also need to have robust safeguards in place to protect our privacy and prevent AI from being misused.
It sounds like we need to be having these conversations now, before these technologies become even more advanced.
Absolutely. And that's why it's so important to understand the different perspectives on AGI and the singularity. Let's dive into what some of the leading minds in AI have to say about all this.
Sounds good. Let's start with Eric Schmidt. He's got a lot of experience with AI, both from his time at Google and his work on AI policy. What's his take on the potential benefits and risks?
Eric Schmidt is cautiously optimistic about AI's potential. He sees it as a tool that could solve some of humanity's biggest challenges. But he also stresses the importance of responsible development and governance. He believes that AI should be used to augment human capabilities, not replace them.
So he's not advocating for some kind of AI takeover. He sees AI as working in partnership with humans.
Exactly. He's also concerned about the potential for an AI arms race, and believes that international cooperation is essential to ensure that AI is used for good.
Okay, that's one perspective. What about Geoffrey Hinton, the so-called godfather of deep learning? He's been pretty vocal about his concerns about AI recently.
Hinton's perspective is particularly interesting because he's one of the pioneers of deep learning, the technology that's driving much of the recent progress in AI, and yet he's now expressing deep regret over his contributions to the field.
Wait, so he's basically saying he created a monster.
In a way, yes. He's deeply concerned about the potential for AI to become uncontrollable and be used for malicious purposes. He's particularly worried about the development of autonomous weapon systems and the spread of misinformation powered by AI.
It's pretty unsettling to hear one of the creators of this technology sounding the alarm bells. So we've got one expert who's cautiously optimistic and another who's downright worried. What about John Hopfield? He's another pioneer in the field of neural networks. Where does he stand on all this?
Hopfield is more focused on the technical aspects of AI. He believes that while AI is a powerful tool, it's still in its early stages of development, and that we're a long way from creating truly intelligent machines.
So he's not as concerned about the immediate threat of superintelligent AI taking over the world.
Not exactly. He's more focused on making sure we develop AI in a way that's aligned with human values, and that we avoid creating systems that we don't fully understand or control.
Okay, that makes sense. Now let's hear from Demis Hassabis, the CEO of DeepMind. He's at the forefront of AI research. So his insights must be particularly valuable.
Hassabis is a fascinating figure. He's a neuroscientist, a game developer, and an AI entrepreneur. He sees AGI as having the potential to solve some of humanity's greatest challenges. But he also emphasizes the need for careful planning and robust safety measures to mitigate the risks.
So he's not blindly optimistic. He recognizes that there are potential dangers.
Absolutely. He believes that we need to start thinking now about the long-term implications of AGI and develop frameworks for governance and control that will ensure its safe and beneficial development.
Okay, so we've got a range of perspectives, from cautiously optimistic to deeply concerned. Where does Ray Kurzweil fit into all this? He's known for his bold predictions about technology, especially his ideas about the singularity.
Kurzweil is definitely on the optimistic end of the spectrum. He's a big believer in the singularity and predicts that it could arrive much sooner than most people think.
So he's basically saying that superintelligent AI is right around the corner.
He believes so, and he sees it as a largely positive development. He envisions a future where humans and AI merge, creating a new form of intelligence that transcends our current limitations. He believes that the singularity will lead to a dramatic acceleration of progress, solving problems like disease, poverty, and even death.
Okay, that's a pretty wild vision of the future. But what about the potential downsides? Does he acknowledge any risks?
He does acknowledge some risks, but he believes that they can be mitigated through careful planning and the development of friendly AI that is aligned with human values.
Okay, let's hear from one last expert, the late Stephen Hawking. He had some pretty strong opinions about AI.
Hawking was deeply concerned about the potential risks of advanced AI. He famously warned that the development of full artificial intelligence could spell the end of the human race.
That's a pretty stark warning.
Yeah.
What were his specific concerns?
He believed that once AI surpasses human intelligence, It could potentially develop goals that are misaligned with our own, leading to unintended and possibly catastrophic consequences. He was also concerned about the potential for AI to be used in autonomous weapons systems, creating an uncontrollable arms race.
So a call for caution and responsible AI development. Okay, so we've heard from a range of experts, from optimistic to cautious to downright concerned. It seems there's no easy answer to the question of whether AGI and the singularity will lead to a utopian or dystopian future.
Exactly. The future is unwritten, and the choices we make today will determine the path we take.
Oh, so with all these differing expert opinions about AGI and ASI, what about China? They're a major player on the world stage, and they're investing heavily in AI. How do they view all this?
China has a very pragmatic and strategic approach to AI. They see it as a key driver of economic growth and national security. They're investing heavily in research and development, and they're aiming for global dominance in the field by 2030.
So it's a head-to-head competition between the U.S. and China for AI supremacy.
It certainly has that feel to it. And it's not just about bragging rights, it's about economic power, military dominance, and the very shape of the future global order.
Okay, so let's break this down. How does China view AGI and the singularity? Are they as concerned about the risks as some of the experts we just discussed?
Chinese experts generally view AGI and ASI with a mixture of enthusiasm, strategic focus, and caution. They see these technologies as key drivers of economic growth and national security.
So they're all in on AI, but with a pragmatic approach.
Exactly. They recognize the potential benefits, but they're also aware of the risks. They're particularly focused on developing ethical guidelines and governance frameworks to ensure that AI is used responsibly and for the benefit of society.
That sounds reasonable, but given their track record with things like surveillance and censorship, it's hard not to be a little skeptical about their commitment to ethical AI development.
Those concerns are certainly valid. It's important to remember that China's political and social landscape is very different from that of the U.S., and their approach to AI reflects those differences.
So how do Chinese experts see AI fitting into their national goals?
They view AI as a critical tool for achieving economic dominance, modernizing their military, and expanding their global influence. They see AI as essential for competing in the 21st century.
It sounds like AI is deeply intertwined with their national ambitions.
Absolutely. And they're making significant progress in key areas like facial recognition, natural language processing, and autonomous systems. They're not just talking about AI, they're actively developing and deploying it.
It seems like China is emerging as a serious contender in the global AI race. What are their main strengths in this competition?
One of China's biggest advantages is its access to massive amounts of data with a population of over 1.4 billion people. They have a treasure trove of data that can be used to train AI algorithms. Their data privacy regulations are also less stringent than those in the West, which gives their companies and researchers more freedom to access and utilize data.
So they have a lot of fuel for the AI engine. What else are they doing right?
Another key advantage is their centralized government structure. The Chinese government has made AI a national priority, and they can direct resources and implement AI initiatives much faster than many other countries.
So they can mobilize their entire nation behind their AI goals. It sounds impressive, but are there any areas where they might be lagging behind?
One potential weakness is the potential for a lack of transparency and accountability in their AI development. Since the government has tight control over information, it raises concerns about how AI will be used and whether there will be sufficient oversight to prevent its misuse.
So a lack of checks and balances could be a problem.
It's definitely something to watch. Another challenge is the potential for over-reliance on government direction and a lack of bottom-up innovation. Too much top-down control could stifle creativity and slow down progress.
It seems like both the U.S. and China have their own strengths and weaknesses in this AI race. It's not a simple case of one country being clearly ahead of the other.
You're absolutely right. It's a complex and dynamic competition. The U.S. has traditionally been the leader in tech innovation, but China is catching up fast. It's a situation full of intrigue and uncertainty.
What other country has ambitious AI plans? How about India? Well, we ought to talk about India when we are discussing Asian countries as they're developing fast. They're doing some really interesting things in the AI space. Let's dive into India's AI scene and see how they stack up against giants like the U.S. and China.
That's a great question. While India might not be at the level of the U.S. or China yet, They have a lot of potential.
Right. So where do these strengths lie? What are they doing that's got everyone talking?
Well, one of India's biggest strengths is its massive talent pool. They produce a staggering number of engineers and data scientists every year. And we're not just talking numbers here, we're talking quality too. Institutes like the Indian Institutes of Technology, IITs, are world-renowned for their rigorous programs.
So they have the brains, the workforce to really push AI forward, but are they actually putting that talent to good use?
Absolutely. We're seeing a surge in AI-focused startups in India. For instance, there's Niramai, using AI for early breast cancer detection, a critical issue worldwide, but particularly in India. Then you have Sigtuple, revolutionizing medical diagnostics with AI, and Haptic, developing sophisticated conversational assistants. These startups are just a glimpse into how India is leveraging AI to tackle region-specific problems, many of which have global implications.
That's fascinating. Using their own unique context to drive innovation. It's not just about the tech, it's about applying it to solve real-world problems. But I'm curious, what about the data itself? Is India's data landscape conducive to AI development?
It absolutely is, and in a very unique way. India's diverse population, with its multitude of languages and cultural nuances, offers a rich tapestry of data. This diversity is incredibly valuable for training AI models, particularly in areas like healthcare and linguistics. Think about it. They're training AI models on Hindi, Tamil, Bengali, and many other Indian languages. These models can cater to multilingual and multicultural needs, which is a significant advantage in a country as diverse as India.
That's a great point. So they have the talent, the drive, and the data. But is the government on board with this AI push? Are they doing anything to support this burgeoning sector?
Oh, they're definitely on board. The Indian government has rolled out a slew of initiatives to promote AI. You have the National AI Strategy aiming to propel India to global leadership in AI, and the India AI Initiative focusing on research and collaboration. Then there's AI for All, promoting inclusive development through AI, and the Digital India program, encouraging AI adoption and governance in public services. It's clear that they are serious about making AI a national priority.
That's impressive, a multi-pronged approach to really integrate AI into the fabric of the nation. But let's get real here. Every success story has its challenges. What hurdles is India facing in its quest to become an AI powerhouse?
You're right, there are some significant challenges. One of the biggest roadblocks is the lack of high-end infrastructure. India lags behind in AI-specific infrastructure like supercomputers and, critically, semiconductor manufacturing.
So they might have the talent, but they're missing some of the crucial hardware to really push the boundaries of AI.
Exactly. While they have made some progress, they still rely heavily on imports, especially when it comes to high-performance computing, which is essential for cutting-edge AI research. China, in contrast, has invested massively in building domestic capacity for AI chips and cloud computing. This reliance on imports puts India at a disadvantage.
Okay, so infrastructure is a major hurdle. What else is holding them back?
Another major challenge is the limited scale of R&D investment. While India has a lot of talented individuals, the overall amount of funding directed towards AI research and development is significantly lower compared to the US and China. To give you a sense of the disparity, India's R&D spending is about 0.7% of its GDP, while the US and China invest over 2%.
That's a substantial difference. I imagine that limited funding directly impacts the pace of innovation.
Precisely. Less funding translates to fewer groundbreaking advancements and a slower pace of overall progress in the field. It's a critical bottleneck they need to address if they want to compete at the highest level.
Makes sense. So they need to ramp up investments to keep pace. Are there any other significant challenges on their path?
Yes, another issue that's often overlooked is the fragmented nature of India's AI ecosystem. Unlike China, where you have a highly coordinated approach with the government, academia, and industry working in sync, India's AI landscape is more dispersed.
So they're missing that unified national push that can really propel things forward.
Exactly. This lack of cohesion can hinder the efficient scaling of AI solutions. While individual pockets of excellence exist, a more integrated approach could significantly amplify their impact.
All right, so fragmented ecosystem, got it. Anything else?
One last challenge, and this is a tricky one, is data privacy and ethics concerns. India's data protection frameworks are still evolving, which creates uncertainty for AI development. This stands in stark contrast to China, where less stringent regulations have allowed for rapid AI development, albeit with potential ethical trade-offs.
So India is trying to find that balance between fostering innovation and ensuring ethical data practices, which can be a difficult tightrope to walk.
You hit the nail on the head. Stricter policies, while necessary to safeguard privacy, could potentially slow down the pace of AI adoption. It's a dilemma they need to navigate carefully.
So we've covered quite a few challenges: infrastructure limitations, funding gaps, a fragmented ecosystem, and the complexities of data privacy. Given all of this, where does India actually stand in comparison to those AI giants, the US and China?
Well, it's clear that the US and China are the dominant forces in AI right now. They have the resources, the infrastructure, and the mature ecosystems to drive rapid innovation. However, India is carving out its own space in this landscape.
Okay, so not quite at the top yet, but definitely making their presence felt.
Exactly. They have that incredible talent pool, the advantage of data diversity, and a government that's actively championing AI development.
Back to the US and China topic. Okay, so let's dive into a head-to-head comparison. What are the US's strengths in the AI race?
The U.S. still holds several key advantages, starting with its dominance in research and development. American universities and companies are at the forefront of AI innovation. We've got companies like OpenAI, Google DeepMind, and Anthropic pushing the boundaries of what's possible with AI.
So the US has the brain power, but what about turning those ideas into real-world applications?
The U.S. also benefits from a robust private sector ecosystem. Companies like Microsoft, Amazon, and NVIDIA are investing heavily in AI, developing the platforms and tools that are driving AI adoption across various industries. And let's not forget the U.S.'s commitment to ethical AI development. There's a growing focus on creating guidelines and regulations to ensure responsible use and that AI benefits society.
So they're trying to do it the right way. But we've also talked about how China is rapidly advancing. What are some areas where the US is falling behind?
One major challenge is data accessibility. China has a vast amount of data at its disposal, and their regulations around data privacy aren't as strict. This allows their companies and researchers to access and utilize data more freely.
So more data equals better AI.
To a certain extent, yes, data is the fuel that powers machine learning algorithms. The more data you have, the better you can train your AI models.
And the US is struggling to keep up in that department.
Yes, strict data privacy laws in the US, while important for protecting individual rights, can make it harder for companies and researchers to access the data they need to develop cutting-edge AI systems.
So it's a trade-off between privacy and innovation.
Hmm.
Are there other areas where the US is lagging?
Another challenge is deployment speed. China has a more centralized government structure, which allows them to implement AI initiatives across different sectors much faster. They can move from idea to implementation very quickly.
So it's agility versus bureaucracy. What else is hindering the US in this AI race?
The U.S. also faces challenges in terms of government funding for AI research. China is investing heavily in AI, while the U.S. relies more on the private sector. This can lead to a lack of coordination and a less focused approach.
It sounds like the US has some catching up to do. What are the key areas where they need to improve to stay competitive with China?
One crucial area is increasing research funding and developing a more centralized AI strategy. A unified national strategy with strong government backing would help focus efforts and accelerate progress.
So a more coordinated and strategic approach is needed. What else can the US do?
Investing in AI-ready infrastructure is essential. This includes things like 5G networks, high-performance computing, and data centers. These are the foundations upon which AI systems are built and deployed.
So building the digital foundation for an AI-powered future, what about the issue of data accessibility? Can the US improve its access to data without compromising individual privacy?
It's a difficult balance, but there are potential solutions. The U.S. could explore ways to encourage ethical data sharing, perhaps through secure platforms, or by developing synthetic data sets that can be used for AI training without compromising real personal information.
So finding creative solutions to the data dilemma is key. What about the workforce? How can the US prepare its workforce for the changes that AI will bring?
Workforce development is crucial. We need to equip our workforce with the skills they'll need to thrive in an AI-powered economy. This means expanding AI education initiatives at all levels, from K-12 to higher education, and investing in retraining programs for workers whose jobs are likely to be automated.
It sounds like a massive undertaking, but it's essential if the US wants to remain competitive.
Absolutely. And finally, the U.S. needs to focus on maintaining its export dominance in AI-related technologies. China is making inroads in areas like drones, surveillance systems, and smart devices. The U.S. needs to stay ahead of the curve and continue to innovate to maintain its edge.
Okay, so there are definitely some areas where the US needs to step up its game, but can they realistically catch up to China? Or is it already too late?
It's not too late, but the window of opportunity is closing. The U.S. needs to act decisively in the next 5 to 10 years to regain momentum and secure its position as a global leader in AI. We need to approach this with a sense of urgency and caution.
So a critical moment for the U.S.
Absolutely. The decisions made in the coming years will have a profound impact on the U.S. economy, national security, and its role in the world.
So we've outlined the challenges, but what needs to happen concretely? What are the key steps the U.S. must take to catch up?
Firstly, the U.S. needs to overcome its regulatory gridlock. The slow pace of policymaking in AI governance is hindering progress. Too much red tape is holding us back, and we need to streamline the process without sacrificing ethical considerations.
It sounds like finding the right balance between speed and responsibility is crucial. What else needs to change?
The polarized political climate in the U.S. is another major obstacle. The lack of consensus on key issues, including AI, makes it difficult to develop and implement a cohesive national strategy. We need to find common ground and work together despite our differences.
So setting aside partisan politics and focusing on the bigger picture, what about the bureaucratic hurdles that we've talked about?
The U.S. needs to address its bureaucracy. Government processes can be slow and cumbersome, especially compared to China's more streamlined approach. We need to find ways to be more agile and responsive in this rapidly changing technological landscape.
It sounds like a tall order, but not impossible.
Exactly. The U.S. still has significant strengths to leverage, including its innovative culture, world-class research institutions, and its ability to attract talent. But it will require a concerted effort from the government, industry, and academia to overcome these challenges and harness the opportunities presented by the AI revolution.
It sounds like a call to action for the entire nation.
Yeah. It is the future of AI is being shaped right now, and the U.S. has a choice to make. Either lead the way or risk falling behind, and the stakes are incredibly high, not just for the U.S., but for the entire world.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in, but this deep dive is highlighting the crucial questions we need to be asking ourselves about AGI, ASI, and the impact on humanity. It's a complex landscape with a lot of unknowns.
You're right. It's important to remember that the future of AI is not predetermined. It's something we're shaping right now with the decisions we make, the investments we prioritize, and the conversations we have.
So we've covered a lot of ground today, from defining what AGI and ASI actually are, to exploring their potential impact on our lives and the global order. We've also heard from a range of experts, each with their own perspective on the opportunities and risks of advanced AI. What stands out to you as the most important takeaway from all this?
I think the key takeaway is that the AI revolution is not just a technological revolution, it's a human revolution. It's about how we choose to use these powerful tools, what values we embed in them, and what kind of future we want to create.
It's a call to action for all of us. We can't just sit back and wait for the future to unfold. We need to be actively involved in shaping it.
Absolutely. And that starts with understanding the issues, engaging in thoughtful discussions, and holding our leaders accountable for making responsible decisions about AI development and governance.
Well said. And on that note, thanks for listening to the Cognito Pod.